There's been a lot of changes to the customer journey over the last couple of years, and certainly over the last couple of months. I sat down with Jim Burton, who is a co-founder of BCStrategies and a consultant to solution providers, to talk more about how the customer journey is changing and how it's changing our industry. Hi, Jim. Great to see you.
Good to see you, Tom.
You know, when I started thinking about doing a piece on the customer journey, I thought back to our conversation we had a couple of weeks ago where you were explaining kind of your tracking the customer journey over the years and how it's changing. So how has the customer journey been changing over the last few years?
Well, it's changing pretty dramatically. There are more people out looking online on the customer journey. You know, historically, people would call in a vendor or their channel partner to discuss what they were looking for and what their challenges were. And they work together and they'd come up with an RFP and go on after that. Now what people are doing is they're going online and doing all the research. In fact, there was a statistic from a number of years ago that 70% of decisions were made before they ever reached a vendor, a provider of a solution, or one of their channel partners. So things have changed pretty dramatically over the last 10 years.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. And what was kind of was that your aha moment, kind of realizing that there has been this major shift in the way people buy?
I got to tell you, it was a big aha moment when I heard that customers were actually out doing research on their own and not even engaging with a vendor or channel partner. It really made me understand how the internet has changed everything, in our business. And it's very, very specifically that. And we did a lot of research early on when we were still BCSrategies before we changed our name to BCStrategies. And that's one of the reasons we made the change, is that under the old BCStrategies, when a vendor would make a big sale, they would say, how did you go through your process? And they found that a lot of them came to our website and did a lot of research, and that's how they helped make their buying decision. And that's one of the reasons we changed our website to really make it easier for someone on a buyer's journey to find the kind of information they'd be looking for to make an intelligent, informed buying decision.
So what does that mean when you say you changed the website? What were the kind of the key things you were looking to do as you made that change? Kind of taking your background from the early days now into this new reality we live in with the changes in the customer journey. As you rethought the new website, what were some of the key things you were looking to do?
Well, we started off BCStrategies as really being a website to provide information for the industry. And that's what we did. We had a lot of independent content, but someone would have to do a lot of work to find exactly what they're looking for. So one of the things that we did when we changed the website is to really set it up to be something to help someone on a buyer's journey. So they can come in and very easily do a search to find exactly what they're looking for. So as an example, we have over 10,000 pieces of content. We cover over 100 different vendors. We have about 8 solution areas, and under each solution areas, there's somewhere between 3 and 5 different subtitles. We have 25 experts who write content for us. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 different types of products that people fall under. I'm sorry, I'm really thinking more of. We have about 20 different vendor selections. So we've got people that are in healthcare. We have users who are looking at things for manufacturing. So we have those different use cases. And then we have about 15 different types of content. So one of the things that makes it very clear, you come to a website like ours, and the first thing you want to do is high level, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? You don't want a sales pitch. And so we have our 25 experts provide content very specifically on how do you get started on your journey. And then as you go through your journey, you're probably looking for additional information. What are some of the thought leadership articles that we might have? And then you go down the journey a little bit further and you find a case study or a webinar or a white paper. And so we provided that information so you can go in and start your journey, look at any kind of content that you want. So search on ours, we have a very sophisticated, faceted search capability. The other thing we did is we set up the articles in a way that at the end of an article, it would say, you can look at this article would be a next step in your process on your buyer's journey. So we spent a lot of time and work. In fact, we spent over 2 years doing investigation, looking at best practices and following what people did to come up with a way that would make it very easy for people to find content on our site to help them on their buyer's journey.
That's great. I think one of the things that I've noticed is, the viewpoints are usually fairly independent. They're not, we're not talking about, marketing pieces and more fluff, because there's certainly, enough of that stuff out on the internet.
Well, you're absolutely right. And that, I think, is one of the advantages we have. Now, we do have our experts. We've got them divided into about 5 different types of content that they provide, because they can provide independent, objective content. And that's actually one of the categories you can search on. But, oftentimes our experts attend vendor-specific meetings, an analyst briefing or a consultant briefing. And after that, they'll come back and they'll highlight what they learned at that. And that's very important information, because they get insight that doesn't necessarily make it to the public. And they tell people what they really think about that. And so with all of that, with what our 25 different experts, the content that they provide is really, really valuable. But we don't want to just stop there, because we want to be a place that somebody can actually come and could do a complete journey without having to leave our site. So they can investigate from that high level content, as I said before, all the way down to vendor collateral material.
Oh, that's great. Last question, Jim. You and I, we obviously run into each other at a lot of events. Something we all look forward to is gathering together to learn more about the industry and to see the products that are coming out. Well, obviously we can't do that now, and it may be some time before we can actually get back on the road. Surely there's implications as far as that's concerned when we look at the buyer's journey. When you've taken a valuable tool out of their hands, how do you think that's going to come into play as you think through, BCStrategies, the website, and the buyer's journey?
Well, that's a good question. One of the things that we all know, because so many of us went to Enterprise Connect, and that was an important place for us to learn, everyone learn, and us being analysts and consultants would oftentimes lead some of those sessions. We are going to have another round of those types of online focuses from Enterprise Connect coming up in August 1st. But one of the things that BCStrategies is in the process of doing, and we've been having podcasts on a regular basis where we as a group would get together and talk about what are the topics, what are the issues. But the thing that we're going to start working on is actually having some separate training sessions where we're going to pick a very specific topic, just like you would if you went to a session at one of these conferences where you try to learn about that kind of information. We're going to try to help by doing that, by having very specific focused things, come up with a series of sessions where we would broadcast that in advance, let people know what our agendas are coming up, and then look for feedback to say, what would you like to know about? So that's something we're going to be doing between now and the end of the year to try to help people. One of the biggest challenges I think most people face is, how do you get in touch and get your hands on and try one of these? And I know a lot of the vendors are working really hard to try to make that happen, where they can give you a live demo, which makes you feel like you're hands-on, as if you're at a very large convention center and walking into a booth. It's just not the same. So one of the things that I think is important for people to know is some of these big conferencing companies, while they certainly are paying a price right now, they're planning on coming back. They realize that people want to have that interaction, and they are continuing to support their organizations. And so we'll see those coming back. But in the meantime, we're going to do what we can to help people on their buyer's journey to kind of fill in with some of the things that were lost with those conferences.
Great. Thanks so much, Jim, for your time today. It was really a pleasure.
Great. Well, thank you, Tom. Look forward to seeing you real time sometime in 2021.
You bet. Thanks again to Jim Burton for joining me. You can check out the website at bcstrategies.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time on Convergence.